Hello everyone, and welcome. Today we're taking it to the streets away from the proving grounds in Streets of Rage 4. So, Streets of Rage 4. Let's do a quick little lesson here. So, if you're familiar with Streets of Rage, it was a trilogy on the Sega Genesis, or you might be one of the weird few that played the remakes that were on the Game Gear in the Master System. I've actually played and owned Streets of Rage 2 on the Game Gear, oddly enough, actually. It's actually, considering what they had to do, it's actually pretty creepily faithful. Weird. Now, I heard the one for 3 was awful, though. But anyway, we're talking about the original trilogy here, though, because those remakes were kind of for European audience, really, because of how popular the Master System was. Anyway, so it's been a very, 20 plus years since the last Streets of Rage game. And while there have been attempts to make a new Streets of Rage, Fighting Force, for example, was originally going to be Streets of Rage 4. But because the developer wanted to apparently make the game multi-platform, which, at the time, Sega was still in the console business, yeah, it was kind of not in the cards. So Fighting Force just okay, well, just make the Kalos their own thing and then release the game of that. But, and there were a few other known kind of prototype things. You'd have to look them up. We just never got another one. Then all of a sudden, boom, we got one. Now, I think this was made by the people who made the remake of Wonder Boy 3, I believe, in Monsterland. So let's go over the details. So, first thing, your starting cast. Alex and Blaze return with 2 new characters, Cherry and Floyd. Cherry replaces Escape, youthful character, once brown, has a guitar. Floyd is kind of a hybrid of Max and Dr. Zan, as he's a slow, big, buff guy, but he has robotic arms that do a lot of electricity crap that Dr. Zan did. So he's kind of an interesting hybrid. He's an apprentice of Zan. Cherry is the daughter of Adam, who was one of the original characters in 1 and was kidnapped in Streets of Rage 2. But, yeah. And then later on, very early in the game, Adam also gets unlocked as one of the characters you can play with. And Adam's playstyle is a lot of kicking. Lots and lots and lots of kicking. So, nice little ad there on that. Now, let's see. So, let's start with story, saying that. So, in the third game, Mr. X was a giant brain jaw thing. So, it's like, what could we possibly do with Mr. X? Well, they actually finally dropped Mr. X after being killed twice and being a brain jaw. Now we're fighting his children. His children, the Y twins. A daughter and a son. They gave in no real background on us. We don't know if they're biological, test tubed. Technically, we don't even really know if they're really human. They probably are, but I'm just saying, technically, they didn't really go into any background info on the Y twins at all. But they started a new criminal organization, and it's up to our cast to again shut it down. Now, it's been 10 years, I believe, since Streets of Rage 3 in the story world, so the characters have obviously grown a bit older. And, the design has been kind of a little wishy-washy with some people. I think it looks okay. I think it's understandable. Alex is getting a bit older, Blaze is getting a bit older, Adam's getting a bit older, so, you get a little more girth to you. So, I think it's not necessarily wrong. I think people might be overreacting a little. Now, there was some concerns that we're going to use cheap Flash because the original trailer was just an animation. I don't think it had any gameplay in it. I do have to say the gameplay, it can be a little mixed probably for some people, but overall, if you like the Streets of Rage, you'll find a lot of familiarity here. You have a lot of the same normal beat 'em up mechanics, You can punch, kick, do a back attack. You have your special that drains some of your health in that. Some new additions they have is a star move, which just does a really super move that, depending on the character, does different areas of effect on the screen. So you kind of have to learn how your characters works and keep your positioning in mind. Varies from character to character. And then you have the combo system, backing up hits without being interrupted or too much time passing from another hit. You can whack up a combo, and the combo awards more points the higher you get after it finishes. Great way to get extra lives, higher score, and the higher score is good because that goes to a lifetime score that unlocks unlockables for the game. So that's a bit of the replay incentive there, is the lifetime score. Now, for the first time in the series, this is 4-player. However, because it does have online for all of the modes that are available, but you can only do 4-player local. Online's 2-player, so a bit of a shame on that. You have the story, you have difficulties easy, normal, hard, hardest, and mania. You can stage select stages you've been in difficulties. Arcade mode gives you 1 credit, so it's basically even harder. Boss rush mode should be self-explanatory. And the battle mode, which has been a staple since Streets of Rage 2, I'm pretty sure it was introduced into, where you go on a one-on-one versus your characters and that. And all these modes can be played online. Now, on top of that, you unlock additional characters through the lifetime score as well, so you get more characters to select, and we'll go in those in the spoiler section. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is the change with super moves. Not the superstar moves, but your basic super move that would drain your health. Now, most beat-em-ups go with your super move drains a little health at the cost of getting a whole bunch of... the cost of a little your health for a big boost of strength that usually destroys all the shit around you, so you usually use it as a defensive means. But in 3, they introduced a system where you had a little charge bar, and if it got full, you could do it once for free until it charged up again. I like that this is a mechanic because it kept you from spamming it, but it also encouraged you to use it wisely. Now 4, instead, threw that in a dumpster and made a new system. So in 4, you get your missing health turns into a green bar. Now, as long as a green bar is there, you can attack enemies and restore health that way. But if you get hit, it's gone. Your opportunity to get your health back, like a blood-born hunter in the night, it's gone. This system's interesting, but I feel like it gives you a lot more room to abuse, because you're able to get your health back up. And I'm a little wishy-washy, and kind of feel like it would have been more strategic for the system in 3, but it's not completely broken or anything, so... And it took me a little getting used to, because, in beat-em-ups, like I said, you're used to just losing that health and not getting anything back, so it's kind of a different mindset. When I first played through it, I didn't use them very often. You kind of have to get, when you went from, Dark Souls to Bloodborne, you have to get that more aggressive mindset, you could say. If that makes any sense, though. Now, outside that, you do get some unlockables, info on the characters, gives you a little background, the moves, and the kind of Power Rangers and that. You also unlock artwork that shows you kind of how they went with, it shows, the original sprites of Alex, and then kind of goes through how they tweaked to end up with the design they ended up with now. It just kind of shows you the evolution of how they came up with their newer designs and that. The ones I think were really interesting were looking at the ones for the enemies, because a lot of the enemy designs they did make didn't end up in the game. They made a lot of designs based on many of the past enemies, and while some familiar enemies do appeal, like the Mohawk guys who love doing slide kicks, I'm not sure how to say, like those dancer goals with the low tops, the boxers, Ben. You always have to have Big Ben. You have the bald guys and that. But there were a lot of characters that didn't show up, and they did throw in, of course, new characters. There were these characters with potion concoctions they throw around. And they also added the police force. The police force actually play a role in the story, so there are cop enemies that you are in kind of a three-way fight with, because they also fight the criminals. It's kind of nice throwback because the SWAT team-esque cops were designed off the cop from Streets of Rage 1, which I don't think you ever see that design in 2 or 3, so that's also a nice throwback to Streets of Rage 1. They redesigned the bikers, even though, like, you can look through the documentary and see that they did design male bikers. They went with a bunch of female designs. And it's interesting seeing, like, because they got a lot of designs for, like, Streets of Rage 2 bosses that aren't in the game and that. So they had a lot of thrown away concepts as well as ones that show how they evolved into, well, what you got in the final game and that. So outside of that, there's not really, I would like to see more. Like the other galleries, like, I think it's mainly like 2 main pictures and then some artwork that show you how they kind of involve the HUD and that. But how should we go? The game itself is enjoyable. The art style, obviously it's not pixelated or anything, so it's a bit of a different direction, obviously, in its theme and that, but I do feel like they do have a lot of the same concept. They have a lot of familiar weapons, new weapons, environmental hazards. Nothing too insane like the Caveo areas in 2 and 3. Actually, there was a Caveo area in 1, wasn't it? Yeah, there was. Yeah. Like, there's nothing really actually as annoying as the Caveo stages in the previous games. And something they also do nice is, while not all of them, there's a few instances where it forces you to transition. Most scenes from one transition to another transition let you cause that transition, allowing you to get, like, food and stuff. So a lot of times you can wait until after everything's off screen, pick up your foods and transition to the next screen, which is nice for newer players, because, you know, if you're not familiar with the game and then you, like, you know, you kick Jack's ass and it's like, oh no, I didn't grab the turkey, no! So that's kind of nice for newer players now. You don't have to worry about it. It's like, okay, he's almost dead, grab your turkey, damn it. No, you didn't grab it! But the controls are pretty much the same, really, I'd say that. One big difference in the control department is they actually gave a completely separate button to picking up stuff, though. So no longer do you have to worry about punching on top of your food. There's a completely devoted button to grabbing food, items, and weaponry. So that's kind of nice, but sometimes it can also be a little annoying because, you know, you're really used to picking up with punching likely. I mean, it's a pretty common staple in beat 'em up games, so it takes a little getting used to again. But, you know, you should be able to get the hang of it pretty easy. Not too difficult, I would say. Not too difficult. Honestly, though, I really enjoyed the game. I've only played it in 2-player mode. Didn't really have any problems with online. I do have it updated to what it's currently updated, so I don't know if there were any issues on the launch, because I have the physical version, so yeah, you know. Typical limited one takes a while to get you your copy. Shame. But I do think it's a good game. I liked it. And I do think it has a good value of $20. The game goes digitally for $24.99, so that's not to say it's shitty, but some of my complaints with the game is... My two biggest complaints with the game, I would say, is force Wii Play. The main thing for Wii Play is unlocking new characters, which is all cool and dandy. I really like what they did with the secret characters. Like I said, I'll talk about them in the spoiler section. But I don't feel like that was enough to really encourage Wii playing the game a whole lot. I would have liked to see, like, branching kind of pathways. Like, in Streets of Rage 3, there were a few instances where you could branch off from the beaten path. And I would have felt like it would have been nice to evolve on that concept. And would have given, like, new environments you could have looked for. Now, there are some secrets, but they're not, like, anything to that extreme. Then the other thing that I really feel like was disappointing in this is how the story is told. Not the story itself, because let's face it, nobody remembers the Streets of Rage trilogy for some epic story. It is about the gameplay. But I feel like, obviously, it's been such a long time since the Sega Genesis. Techniques, ways to tell story and things. You know, there's been a lot of innovations in that. And I feel like it didn't do anything different with how it told the story. It just basically just told the story with some still arts and text, and that's it. Bit of a shame, honestly. Like I said, the story itself is not what I'm complaining about. It's just how it's presented just seems very minimalistic and just kind of a shame for something that hasn't been around for a very long time. It's just... Ooh, excuse me. It just feels like a big shame, but what can you do? That's what it came down to. But I do think it's definitely a game recommended to check out if you're into Streets of Rage 1 through 3, or if this is your first Streets of Rage and you liked it, check out the Genesis collections either on the PS3 and 360 or the more newer collection. Has some games missing, but it still has the 3 Streets of Rage games, and some audio issues on the There were some audio issues in the newer collection on the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. I don't know what they did with it, but it has fast forward rewinding. And what's really nice about the newer collection, actually, if you can get past the issues it has, is you can play the Japanese version of 3, which I am going to talk about something that why that would maybe be interesting for you. But anyway, that's just a quick oversight of the game. So I think it's a value of $20. It's $24.99 digitally. While I did say I got the limited 1 version, it did get retail in both America and Europe for Xbox One, Switch, and PS4. So you don't have to worry about it being like $100 on eBay. That one probably screwed over scalpels. I could just imagine some scalpel probably bought hundreds of copies of this. It's like, yes. It's like, oh no. Now, if you get the physical retail version, it goes for $34.99 brand new. But obviously it's gone down some in price. It's around $20 to $25 if you look around that. So, and for once, you know, Xbox didn't get screwed on getting a physical version. Now, if you're getting a Switch, though, you're looking at like $40, though, because, you know, Switch. Of course, you do have the added replay of trophies and achievements if you're on PC, PS4, and Xbox, but of course you don't get that on Switch. So. And those are what I think. So let's get into the spoilers, shall we? What do I think about some of the other stuff? So first, let's go into secrets. So there's like these arcade cabinets. You can take a stun gun and stun it, and it activates these retro levels. Now, they're throwbacks to full bosses from Streets of Rage 2. They look like they use their actual sprites and then put like a extra retro filter over it, so your character looks retro-ish. It's kind of weird aesthetically looking, but I get what they were trying to do. The throwbacks, like I said, to Streets of Rage 2 bosses, and they're funny little Easter eggs and that, but they're all, you know, they're not like amazing we play value type extra stages. So they're nice little throw-ins in there, but nothing that's mind-bogglingly awesome of that. What is awesome is the unlockable corridors, though. So, besides 2 corridors, you get to unlock every variation of every corridor in all 3 games. That means you get Axel in Streets of Rage 1, 2, 3, on top of his 4 iteration. They all play in their styles and that. Blaze from 1, 2, and 3. You get Skate from 2 and 3. You get Max from 2. You get Dr. Zan from 3 and Shiva from 3. But you do not get Wu or Ash from 3. Now, if you're not familiar with who Ash is, that's why I brought up being able to play the Japanese version of 3 on the modern trilogy. Ash was a secret character that was cut from the American version because he was a gay stereo biker type character. He had a weird running animation and everything, so he was removed to avoid controversy, and he was replaced with Shiva. So you don't get to play him, and I don't know why Wu isn't playable, because they made a sprite for him. He appears in the background of the ball stage. But outside that, that's all Wu got. Now, Ash actually does appear in the game, but even in a lesser extent. Some of his, basically based on some of his original artwork, there's a poster of him on the boat stage in the boss room to the left. So it's nice they still acknowledge the character, but I don't know. I think they should have literally had everyone, including Ash and Wu. I think that would have just been awesome. If they make a 5, everyone, please. Everyone. Don't care about the woke people. The woke people. Woke people complain about everything. Anyway. It is a really cool concept to be able to access all these characters. And they but those sprites, and yeah, they walk around as though bitted sprites that as they appeared in 1, 2, and 3 and everything with their move-sets and that. Obviously, a few things were adjusted, like with the Streets of Rage 1 characters, the SWAT team thing is their star move and that. So, a few things were a little, you know, obviously they probably had to wiggle the cookie mold a little bit, but they put them all in here, and that's a pretty nice thing, but I don't feel like that's enough to encourage me to replay the game over and over and over and over again, because the stages, the only thing you can do to the stages is make them more difficult or easy. So I feel like it's just kinda, it's a cool extra, but I feel like it needed just a little bit more there to do something to the stages themselves, or something to make each playthrough be a little different. Now the story, like I said, the story ain't amazing. You know, the twins are starting a new criminal empire, and you find out about a plan for them to mind control people and stuff, which actually leads to a cool Easter egg thing with Max, because Max gets mind controlled. He's straight up one of the bosses in the game, as mind controlled Max. So that's a pretty fun little throwback thing now. And he even plays like how he does in 2, so that's pretty cool and everything. But the Y twins, the son plays like Mr. X, using a gun and that. He has a lot of similar fighting style to his father, but the sister fights with a sword. So like the two in their final showdown with each other, it's a pretty cool showdown. And the one that gets defeated will jump down and summon a giant mech thing to help out the surviving sibling, and it's a pretty nice little fight in that. You know, it's just, the story is there, which I don't think anyone was expecting a mind-blowing story. Like I said, the way the story's presented to me just feels very minimalistic, and that's what I don't like. Now, music. Some of the songs I feel like are trying to pay homage to the older games. Like the Y Twins probably my favorite theme in the game because it's a mix of Mr. X's theme. And I really like it. I think it's very good. Some of the music's kind of here and there. And they also offer you to actually turn on retro music, which uses music from the original trilogy and also remixes a few of those songs into retro versions. So that's a nice little option if you don't like any of the newer music. But overall, honestly, I did like the game. It's not bad or anything. I just feel like in a few ways it didn't feel like evolution. Like gameplay, they did a little evolution, star moves, the combo system, and that add a little bit more gameplay wise. So that's kind of evolving a little bit. But I feel like the story just flatlined. Like it didn't do anything more than like 3 and 2 did back on the Genesis. It shows you these artwork sliding around with text and such. You don't get any movement, voice acting, flair, or anything like that. Just the presentation was very minimal. And the ending's just, you know, the Y twins get arrested. They're not dead, so they can make a sequel. They can continue, do some that, so it wasn't mind-blowing or anything, but it's a beat-em-up. Who's really expecting it to be mind-blowing? I do feel like, though, it was a missed opportunity to add to characters like Max in there, because Max's backstory is literally ex-pro wrestler who refused to throw a match, and he's best friends with Axel. Like, he literally has no reason to fight the criminals in 2. He's just helping Axel. That, like, he literally has nothing else in his background at all. So, that's just kind of it. The new characters, Cherry and Floyd. Floyd, I think's cool. I think it was an interesting idea to mix Max and Zan to make a new character. I think that was a nice idea. Cherry seems kind of weird to me because she's the daughter of Adam, never mentioned before, and felt kind of needless to replace Skate, really. I mean, I get it's been 10 years later, so Skate's probably like, I don't know, his early 20s probably now, so he's not the young rebellion kid, so I would imagine that's why Cherry was likely created, but I don't know, just, it's always a bit odd to me just to introduce a character. It's like, oh yeah, this character's existed all this time, we just never mentioned them. It's like, a lot of times feels like a cheap cop-out to me, I don't know, but, but, yeah, Cherry's pretty much the rebellion youthful character now, so, it was really sad to not see Skate in any form outside of his 2 and 3 unlockable character. I mean, fuck, even Dr. Zan has a artwork drawing in the ending credits. I mean, fuck, Ash is on a poster in the game, but you don't see any modern interpretation of Skate at all, which is kind of a shame, actually. Out of all the characters, you would think with how I described Ash, he was just completely screwed over. But, I mean, him and Skate were pretty much screwed over to some capacity. Like, Ash at least got Drew in the game. But Skate got 2 unlockable characters of his past self, so, you know, I'd say Skate still got the last laugh, but, you know, it feels kind of like a shame because he'd be older. They have a lot of freedom on his older design, but, yeah. Story gets the job done, that. So, yeah, I recommend it, you know, if you liked the original trilogy. I don't know if you'll find 4 will be a huge step up, but I definitely still think it was very enjoyable. I liked it. I hope it lays the groundwork to making a 5 that has even more stuff, is what I would hope. Like have branching stages, side paths, secret places, stuff like that. I would love to see that in a sequel. I feel like that and the minimalistic story are the biggest punches this game takes to the gut. But outside of that, I really liked everything. I didn't have any bugs or anything with the gameplay itself, though oddly enough, even though I've played through the game like 3 times, I have not gotten any of the trophies for clearing all stages with a particular character. I didn't change characters or anything, so I don't know why those didn't unlock. Somebody said you just replay the last stage and they'll unlock. I haven't tried that yet, but that's like the only weird thing I've had. I haven't experienced any bugs or any glitches or crashes or anything, so everything on that front seems good and dandy and all that. So those are my thoughts on Streets of Rage 4. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a message on Twitch or leave a comment down below. If you feel like you learned something interesting, feel free to leave a like. If you feel like you learned nothing at all, feel free to leave a dislike. Guilt free. Until next time, be safe out there in Oakwood.